Is micro-fulfillment the solution to last-mile delivery obstacles? My guest is Bill Catania. He is CEO of OneRail. Hi, Bill.
Hello, Robert. How are you today?
I am good. Thank you very much for being with me. I'd appreciate it if you could just outline for me what are the big issues right now that are affecting the efficiency and quality of last-mile delivery.
Well, if you think back, even 5 years before we had this supply chain pinch and before behaviors were accelerated, 3 to 5 years because of COVID, distribution centers, were a primary source of origin for products. And if you think about, distribution centers and where they are geographically, a lot of times they're located 30 to 50 miles outside of a general market area. So that places the inventory too far from the consumer. So if we look at this acceleration and we look at what's required now to deliver something same day, 2 hour, 30 minutes or better, in some cases, there's a requirement to get that inventory even closer to the consumer. And, there was sort of a period and still is a period, based on the order management system of the shipper. If it's a retailer, for example, they can fulfill from store, but they have to have the right infrastructure to do that. So what we see is a need to introduce another type of distribution center. We're calling it a micro fulfillment center. And what we're doing, what I'm seeing is nodes. Think of it as like a DC, but a much smaller footprint. In the case of like Los Angeles, there might be 10 of these or 15 of these micro nodes that are close to the demand.
Okay,
where shippers need them.
Where are they exactly? Sometimes we hear that micro fulfillment centers are actually in retail stores. They take up a portion of the retail space. Sometimes we hear they're in so-called dark stores. Sometimes they're standalone distribution centers. Where are micro fulfillment centers?
Well, I think you really classified the store the right way. We've always talked about the store being a warehouse. And so the store is a natural micro fulfillment center. Again, if you have the right infrastructure for that, an order management system that can contemplate real-time inventory accurately, along with some forecasting technology, demand sensing technology, you can use the store. The thing you don't want to do, though, the risk to the store can be out of stock. So again, I can't emphasize enough how important that infrastructure is. What we've also seen are malls. Brookfield's been, I think, an innovator in that space, taking mall space and leveraging the mall, taking maybe an anchor tenant out, that may be having some difficulty and converting some of that space. And that's happening in Latin America as well, using it as a fulfillment center. And then you mentioned dark stores. That's certainly an option. But I'll tell you what we're also seeing is self-storage. Self-storage has gone through a boom the last 5 or 6 years. Every neighborhood, has a public storage or an extra space. And what's happening is self-storage now has that infrastructure to serve as a micro fulfillment center.
Really? Interesting.
It does.
In the case of where it happens in the stores, I mean, in the early days of the omni-channel, there was thinking that, well, you can just fulfill from store shelves when you're fulfilling from a store. Now we're hearing sometimes that a micro fulfillment center is maybe in the store walls, but it's separate from the shelves, because then you don't have like store associates and shoppers getting in each other's way. You have a complete different operation behind a wall, so to speak. Is that the case, or can it be either?
It can be both. Yeah, it could be either. We have a lot of customers at OneRail that are leveraging shelf inventory, and they're actually, there's a pick and pack.
Just right off the shelf and fulfill from there.
Again, you can't do that without the right order management system and the right in-store operation system. And, there's also the notion of when the order comes from the customer, do you trigger the delivery then, or do you wait, until it's ready? It's queued as ready in the order management system, because then you can have a problem where a courier is showing up, but the item's not ready, and that's not good either. That really upsets these couriers. So the timing, the sequencing, there's a complete operational transformation that has to happen if you're going to use the store, and also if you're going to leverage a third-party facility.
Now, I want to talk about the benefits of micro-fulfillment. You alluded to one right at the top of this discussion. That is that they are, shorter distance from there to the customer. But in what other ways, like for instance, how can a micro-fulfillment center accelerate cash flow?
Yeah, so there's two things: cash flows and out of stocks. What we're seeing is by taking and having forward inventory,
Mhm.
inventory that's in what they call an FSL, or forward stocking location, which would be like a self-storage facility or a dark store, or even, as you mentioned, a node within a building that's not part of the store, but it's kind of a back office store. By having that, you now have inventory that's closer to replenishment. It's close. It's a closer distance to where the demand is. And if there is an out of stock, that product can be pulled forward. And what's happening is we see customers in the space, that have a 6-week time period to go from DC to in the store. And so
Mhm.
that's 6 weeks of cash flow. That's 6 weeks of time that peg, if it's an electronics product that's on a peg, that it's not there.
Right.
And there's some financial implications to that. That's all time that inventory is sitting in a warehouse not being consumed. And so by moving inventory, by creating more velocity, and by creating predictability, and by creating kind of a real-time replenishment scenario, cash flow accelerates because the invoicing can happen quicker.
Mhm.
And most importantly, we all know, whether you're a manufacturer or a retailer, there's a cost to out of stocks, especially a category leader. If I go to Walmart to buy something, and it's a destination category. And I'll tell you a good example: the dollar channel. Cleaning products are a destination category for the dollar channel. People go into dollar stores to buy candy and cleaning products. So if I
Mhm.
go there to buy my Windex and it's not there, I may not ever go back to that store. The ancillary sales, from that visit will be lost, and I may not go to that chain again. And that's the impact.
Mhm. But okay, I get that. But if you are distributing inventory over a greater number of smaller locations, are you not presenting yourself with a challenge of balancing that inventory among all those different locations, knowing what is what at what location, making sure it's all in the right location, being able to shift from one location to the other when it's needed? You're creating a big challenge there, are you not?
It's a lot more complexity, Robert.
Yeah.
The days of having 10 DCs and you just push it all through 10 DCs are gone.
Mhm.
The I always like to think about it as upstream and downstream. So when I think of downstream, I'm thinking about whomever is interfacing directly with the buyer. So in a B2B environment, if I go into a tire shop, that's downstream. If I walk into a Target store, that's downstream. As the consumer becomes more demanding downstream, which they want things faster. And there's more people that want things faster than ever because of the acceleration that's happened in the last 18 months. And they want it predictably, and they want to know where it is and when it's going to be to them. They don't want it to be a mystery. They want visibility to that. They want communications, and they want what they want when they want it. And what's
Mhm.
happened is, as that all accelerates, upstream distribution centers have the pressure. The supply chain has pressure, and that pressure reaches a boiling point where you can't possibly fulfill things the way you used to, right? So the answer to your question is absolutely, it's more complex. And the companies that are winning, and I have to point out companies like Target, Target has made some investments in their supply chain that a lot of other retailers haven't. They've made acquisitions, they've made investments, they've brought in people, and they've built a supply chain organization to be able to fulfill, and they're rewarded for that every time earnings come out. So when you look at that dynamic, you have to have the software, you have to have real-time inventory visibility. And if you have real-time inventory visibility, you have some sense of demand sensing, so that you understand forecasting, you understand what's going to happen at the store level, you understand your SKU velocity and what you're going to sell, but you also have some fidelity around what you're going to sell online. Then you can do it, and it's actually easier because
Right.
you can
Right.
automate. You can automate it.
Okay. Well, Bill, I want to thank you so much for helping us to understand just what is micro fulfillment, why it's important now, and what are the benefits. Thanks for that conversation. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
I want to turn now, though, to a brief discussion of OneRail itself. Bill, what is OneRail?
So OneRail is a fulfillment solution that helps all types of shippers, whether it's an e-tailer, a bricks and mortar retailer, a wholesale product distributor, even a healthcare organization like a healthcare network, move their final mile inventory more predictably, more affordably, and faster.
Mhm.
And so we do that with a combination of software. We have an operating system that our shippers use that automates the complete order flow all the way through to proof of delivery to the consumer, all the communications. That platform is connected to a capacity of around 9 million drivers. We've aggregated DoorDash, Lyft, Postmates, Uber, GoPuff is now part of the network, Shipped. And so we can take and decide. We have a real-time decision engine that decides which courier is the best courier. We automatically send the job or dispatch it to the right courier. And then we manage that with our logistics management team all the way through to hopefully a smiling face. We manage exceptions on behalf of our shippers. And then finally, we've just spun up 55 micro fulfillment nodes. We just talked about that a little bit. We're leveraging self-storage today in such a way that our couriers can seamlessly go to and from self-storage to pull forward stock and bring it to consumers or to stores.
How long have you been in business?
We've been doing this for almost 4 years. We started up January of 2018,
Mhm.
and we started out as a digital courier, and then about almost 2 years ago now, we pivoted pretty big from being a courier to being a platform.
And needless to say, I'm assuming you've seen quite an uptick in demand for the type of service you offer based on what's happening in the omni-channel and based on the issues that customers are having now and getting their stuff, at the right time, right place.
Our team, we had 9 team members in February of 20. Today we have 100 and we have 30 jobs open, and we expect to have a team of almost 200 by next year at this time, and that's all demand driven. Very proud of that, and it's been difficult to grow that fast during COVID. Everybody's shifting around, but it also has created some opportunities as people are looking for new careers and they don't have to be in the same place. So it's been an interesting time to say the least.
Bill Catania of OneRail, I want to thank you once again for this discussion about micro-fulfillment and its benefits, as well as something about OneRail itself. Thank you very much for being with me today.
Thank you, Robert. I really appreciate it.